What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Box Out Boys podcast. We are the NBA podcast of the people, your home for lukewarm takes and substandard analysis. I'm Titus Two Shots Dominguez, and with me tonight is the lawn boss, Joe McCrosky. Get that joke.
Hey. All right, I got a stat for you.
All right, yeah, stats.
Did you know in 2023, the Walt Disney Company generated over $88 billion in global revenue?
Whoa, I did not know that.
I don't know. I just Googled Disney stats because
the stats man is on hiatus. He's princess security down in Disney World with the fam.
What a shirt.
I know, I loved it. I saw it. I was like, it's great.
Floppy hat and Disney princess shirt.
Yeah, it was either that or I was going to say he's in the Elite Eight of the league, the league he coaches in.
There you go.
So we miss you, Chris. It'll be good to have you back soon. We got a fun show for you tonight. Me and Joey, we're going to get into it. We got a few fun topics. With about 10 games left, give or take, in the season for the teams. We got a few questions, some Knicks questions related. Should they bring Brunson back? Try to just wait it out for the playoffs. We're going to talk about playoff seeding. Who has, the most to gain, the most to lose? Who wants to maybe move their position, lock in a certain matchup? And then we're going to close the show out as maybe our hats predict here. Talking some Bulls. I had to dust off the Bulls hat for this one. I hadn't been wearing it for a while.
Legitimately had to dust it off.
There was dust on it. But that's okay because there's not dust on this Bulls team right now. Hot as ever.
They ain't dusty.
Smoking people right now. Big Lakers win. Nuggets win. So definitely an interesting time. And we want to talk to Joey about that, get his perspective, the diehard guy, and then kind of rope us back in because it appears that we will be getting some sort of a postseason game with them.
Yeah.
So I'm already. We could talk tickets after the show, but I'm already in. So
we're in.
All right, man. So fun stuff going in. Let's talk about Jalen Brunson, New York Knicks. Has been out a few weeks with sprained ankle, with about 10 games left. We've been going around on some other pods, the debate of, how do you bring him back for the Knicks? Obviously looking for, potentially a championship run, at very least a deep playoff run. Do you think that they should bring them back, try to work them into conditioning again prior to the playoffs? Or do you go, hey, let's shut you down. We need you for 16 games in May and June. Joey, what's your thoughts on this? And maybe are we seeing our boy Tibbs back at it here?
Yeah, okay. This one's tough for me because what I'm trying to figure out is, does it make sense for them to bring him back based on matchup potential? So right now they're the third seed,
yeah,
and they'd be playing the Pistons.
Yeah.
On paper, that seems like a pretty okay matchup, right? Pistons first year in, really young team versus a team. Pretty good playoff experience, good coach, a lot of veterans.
Mm-hmm.
But then after the news of Damian Lillard being out indefinitely, and the Knicks having pretty good luck against the Bucks this season in their 2 or 3 matchups they've had, I think they won by like 20 and like 30 on each of those games. Really big wins. So my initial thought was, hey, you're 3 up on Indy, rest them unless Indy somehow comes up and ties you, and you're trying to make sure you stay ahead of them. What I was more thinking about was, like, does it actually make sense for them to maybe fall back? Like, does it matter? I guess not make sense, but does it matter if they fall back to 4 and have to play Milwaukee at 5? Because Milwaukee looks like they're probably going to be pretty locked into that.
Yeah, I don't think they're kind of moving up or down based on the standings. Yeah, definitely an interesting thought. I mean, I forgot, obviously the Dame injury, it's indefinite. I don't know exactly if they haven't exactly ruled him out for the season, but given what happened with Wembanyama, I think we know what's going to happen. He's probably not going to be back. Initially, when you kind of said that, I was like, I don't know, but Giannis might be a tough matchup for Cat, but the Knicks have done well against them. So,
yeah, if it's just Giannis, you have to worry about.
Yeah,
it's a lot less scary because I mean, I guess you have to worry about Brook Lopez too a little bit, but you're not you're not game planning around that, right? You're game planning for Giannis, and you can throw everything you have at him. So
And then
the
maybe
conditioning part makes sense, but like you kind of have to just say, "Hey, we're going to get your conditioning back outside of gameplay, and we'll let you take 2 games in the playoffs to get your feet under you. And if we split that, the first 2 games, so be it. But we need you, like you said, we need you for 16 wins."
And either way, like they're probably winning that first round series, even if Brunson isn't 100% quite yet. But maybe you're like, hey, let's bring him back against a team that's an older team and maybe feeling a little bit down with the loss of, their second best player versus a young, feisty Pistons team that's trying to make some noise and could maybe be a little bit more of a tough out than a Bucks team that maybe could check out themselves.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, because the Bucks could have another one of those "oh, not this again" type of moment, right?
Yeah.
'Cause last year Giannis missed the whole first round.
Yeah.
And Dame played in like 2 of those games, I think.
Yeah, something like that. He was,
So,
but they weren't really there. They weren't healthy then. So
right, and it's here we go again. I'm actually looking at the standings right now. The Bucks and Pistons are actually tied. Just the Bucks own the tiebreaker. So there's potential, I guess, that this gets all really jumbled up in the middle here.
Yeah.
If that starts to happen, if it starts to get really crazy, then I think Brunson sits. Like you maybe bring him back for 20 minutes for the last 2 games just to get him going. But you're not trying to win games. You're trying to win games, but you're not bringing him back to try and make sure you hold on to the 3 seed, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, because they're up 3 games on Indy, like you said. But yeah, there's a tie there in the next 2 slots. So maybe you kind of just see where it's at. Maybe let Indy kind of pull a little closer. You can kind of determine it the last couple of games. But yeah, that's
right. Because I think you're probably favoring the Knicks in any one of those matchups.
Yeah,
in like reality, right? Knicks versus Pacers.
Yeah,
Probably.
I'm still taking the Knicks.
With the Bucks without Dame, probably going to take the Knicks.
Yeah.
Against the Pistons, you're probably taking them. So like it doesn't necessarily matter unless they really want home court, but so be it.
Yeah, I think the Pistons would be my least favorite of those matchups for them. But
that's wild to think.
Or no, I mean not the Pistons. Sorry, the Pacers.
The Pacers, okay.
The Pacers. Yeah, that was me. The Pacers. But yeah, I think it's always a tough decision kind of as you're coming back because like a guy like Brunson, I think he's going to be able to come back quickly. I know he's been out for a while. It takes a little bit of time to get your legs back under you, but he's a guy that I would trust, to kind of come back and be himself or mostly himself. So
yeah, I mean they have to have him back to do anything because they're pretty mid without him.
Yeah, without him, it's a big issue.
5-5 in their last 10, so mid is
mid is exactly
absolute definition of what they are.
All right, well, that's a good one, at least for the Brunson conversation part of it. But you brought up that good point of seeding and sort of the potential matchups.
Mm-hmm.
I'll throw a couple at you that I saw as we kind of get into more who would want to play what. I think the first one that jumped out to me, and I was mostly in the Western Conference here, so that's kind of good. We kind of covered the Eastern there.
Yeah.
I looked at Memphis, currently in the 4 seed. I think they want to stay there, and I think they want to get the Lakers. They're a big team. I don't think LA really wants to play a big team. I think they want to take that if they have a home court advantage against LA. Younger team. Also, as we're going to touch on, we saw with the Bulls, a young sort of up and down team might be the way to go on them. And I like that for them versus maybe getting Golden State or where else could they possibly go? I guess 3 seed. 3 seed. If they got up to 3, they're getting Golden State dropping down, or they play LA with LA having home court advantage. I'd rather see the first 2 games in Memphis. Let them get the ball rolling a little bit. Thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I don't know if I agree.
Cut it apart, man.
I'm trying to. So you're going basically most on size in this and a little bit of pace.
A little bit of pace, but I think that the Lakers not having a center is going to really come to bear in the playoffs.
That's fair.
And Jaren Jackson Jr. is a guy that I think can take some advantage of it. Edie, can be a bit of a handful there. I like that.
Yeah, I could see Edie almost being more than a handful because Jaren Jackson Jr. is kind of
the scorer.
Started to pull out of the center.
Yeah.
Becoming a better ball handler. I don't know. The thing that weirds me out about Memphis still is like who's their guy?
Yeah.
Because it's not Ja anymore.
It's not really Ja. And
it's Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bain, right? Like they pretty much said, hey, you were gone for like 2 seasons, so we kind of figured out how to do this on our own, and you kind of just come in and fit in. I'm just nervous that Ja's going to try to be the guy. I know we talked about like Grizzlies and Nuggets. Gosh, Grizzlies and Rockets. Like, who would you rather? Like a few weeks back, and I was kind of on the Grizzlies, and I don't know anymore. If like the Rockets have been really consistent.
I mean, they're still up there in the 2 seed. Yeah,
I get what you're saying about Grizzlies and Lakers, but last time we saw the Grizzlies have to take the older team that was slower and running gun. They got their shit pushed in by the Warriors.
Yeah, and I think that was maybe a worse matchup for them. I think I'm really looking at matchup, and then I think they're like seasoned enough where like the Lakers sort of playoff seasoning isn't going to be a bigger factor. Where let's say if it was Houston versus LA, I'd really like LA in that situation. I'd be like, okay, here's a younger team that's maybe not ready for it, and you got Luka and LeBron. What could possibly happen there? Or, but really, the Lakers aren't going to fall much farther than that. I think they're just about there. The Warriors are 3 games behind them, 2.5 games behind them.
Yeah.
So I see the West is a little bit more locked in, but I think that's interesting. And if I was Memphis, I think I wouldn't fall any farther than that. Like I would want to stay there at 4, not really risk it too much.
Yeah.
Another one I saw was Houston.
Okay.
And I was thinking Houston maybe dropping to 3.
Okay.
And mostly this is because I see Minnesota sitting there in that 8th seed right now. They would be playing the Clippers. I would like Minnesota in that. And that's a one where I go, I don't know if I want Ant, best player in the series, going up against me when I could maybe be going up against, again, another older Golden State team, which might be crazy because they're playing really well and you got, Steph and Jimmy and stuff. That maybe this is maybe crazy. But if it's me, I'm going, you know what? I think I might want that in this situation. Thoughts on that one?
Well, it's actually interesting because I flagged the Nuggets as a team that I wanted to go up to.
Okay.
Because I didn't like their potential matchup against the Warriors.
Yeah.
It's the way the Nuggets, like the Warriors don't have a great option for Jokic, but the Warriors don't have a great option for Steph.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, I mean, they have options there, but I don't know. That just felt like a weird, sneaky good matchup for the Warriors in my head.
And they do something where it's like, all right, Jokic, go ahead and beat us. We're going to stop everybody else. And that's sometimes the recipe against the Nuggets.
Yeah. I think what I'm kind of looking at it too is like Clippers versus Timberwolves potentially in that first 7-8 matchup. I can see the Clippers getting that game easily, holding on to the 7 seed, and then the Timberwolves go and win their next match against, the Kings or the Suns, whoever wins that one. But I agree. I like what you're saying. The Rockets, I don't think, want any part of someone like Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't feel like a matchup they're going to win. I feel like the Wolves are going to be maybe out for a little bit of blood in this postseason based on how last year shook down and how this season's been kind of underwhelming. So,
yeah.
And I mean, they were better last year, but we didn't think they were going to have the run last year that they did, right? They were still they were this, I think they finished 2nd seed. Nobody expected what was coming. So I think you're right about the Timberwolves. I think that's a scary, scary spot to be.
I think, if I'm Houston, that team maybe scares me a little bit more than the Clippers and Golden State. I think
for sure.
You're right. Like the Clippers could be at that matchup there, easily win that game, and maybe you're okay with that. But I think a Minnesota team they're not going to be afraid at all of Houston. They're going to be like, hey, dude, we were in the conference finals last year. It comes through us. They're kind of rounding into shape a little bit here, and been playing better as of late. Yeah,
and that's why I think the Nuggets got to get up to 2.
Yeah,
because like them versus the Clippers, you're taking the Nuggets all day, all day, every day.
And then if you got the Nuggets against Minnesota, there's a little bit of revenge from last year, and I think they know what that matchup is, and then you got a little bit of all right, we're playing you again, but you're not as good as you were last year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that kind of works on all levels there with Denver moving up. Let's see which ones else I had here. I had Memphis, I had Houston, and I got one more for you.
Yeah.
This one's a little bit funny here, but Dallas needs to stay out of that play-in game
I think
right
that's
now.
such a good idea.
Yeah, they're a half game out. I know they got Anthony Davis back recently. You need to stay out of the playoffs, stay out of the limelight here. This is not your year. Let Phoenix do this. They won the last 4. So
the absolute cherry on top of shit, or whipped cream on shit would be getting into that 10 spot, playing the Kings, and then like just getting obliterated by them, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're the Mavericks, you find your way in and then you go in, or you somehow win 2 games and you end up playing Oklahoma City in the first round and just get swept out the door, and everybody has to see it. Everybody gets to watch it happen.
Yeah.
I mean, they were willing to tank 2 years ago on purpose to keep their draft pick.
Exactly what I was thinking of.
They need to be thinking the exact same thing right now. Like, it's fine, Anthony Davis can come back because they literally had like 6 players in their rotation, 7 players. So like, that's fine. You can come back and do your thing, give us a little bit of hope, and like, save some face. But there is no reason. Let Phoenix do it. Let them feel like they're accomplishing something before that gets blown up here at the end of the season.
Let them get a crack at it. I definitely, agree there 100%. That's just stay out of the limelight here. Stay out of the headlines. Let people forget. See what can happen. I haven't heard any timeline yet for Kyrie. Obviously, I think he's probably missing most, if not all, of next year. So
probably, I would think, at least to like All-Star break.
Yeah, something like, I know ACLs might be a little bit faster now. I mean,
a little bit,
but still, that's not next year's probably not something. You have something?
Yeah. I was just like, is this one of the closest like middle of the pack playoff seasons you can remember in recent memory?
It definitely feels like it, because I feel like aside from like you're saying the top teams in either conference, I could see the middle going a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Every matchup you look at, even into some of the play-in teams where you're going, okay, if they get in, that's interesting. That's scary. You know what I mean? I don't trust anybody outside of like OKC, Boston, and Cleveland, really. Ooh, you got somebody else you trust? Like I'm saying, maybe in round 1, I'm like, okay, for sure we can lock that win in. They're moving on.
Go
ahead. You got somebody in mind? You're thinking?
I do. It's the Warriors.
Okay. I could see them maybe,
and I don't know why, because like when they've won, it's looked really easy since Jimmy's been there.
Yeah.
But like when they've lost, it's looked really hard for them. And Steph's been out for almost a week now, so they've obviously missed him on some of those. But like, it's almost like when it's clicking, it's like really, really clicking for them. But if they're not playing their best, they're gonna have a hard time finding a way to win. And that might just be a product of their age, and like they don't have anybody else. Like it's
night to night, and
it's like 1A and then it's like 2B. Like you're like skipping,
you're skipping the
player in that little next like helper spot. Like, and Jimmy's really good, and he's been better obviously than Wiggins has. But like when it's on and it's all clicking for them, and Jimmy knows how to win in the playoffs. That's the kind of the scary part for me too. Is like he knows how to get foul calls, he knows how to get to the line, he knows how to play downhill.
Yeah,
and I feel like there's going to be some frustration against some teams that they're playing. And Steph is getting he's basically getting a little rest here. Yes, he got hurt. He's getting himself a little 2 week.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
A little 2 week break here. Yeah, they know how to play the system.
They're like
the Celtics saw it and said, "Hey, why don't you roll your ankle here? Soft ankle roll.
Soft ankle roll." Yeah, you know what? You might be right. I mean, in the middle of the pack, if we were to rank teams you trust, they're probably top of the list. Like them and the Knicks maybe are like the next tier. But even the Knicks, you know what I mean? I don't know if I trust them 100%. I guess it's the same thing for Golden State, but they're like that next tier, and maybe with that like Denver, kind of in that next tier of teams you kind of trust.
Are
but I would,
below.
I would have Golden State top of that bracket. I think
I would too. the Bucks have obviously fallen out of that
Yeah.
spot. Like they were already raising a lot of red flags and giving us a lot of concern, and it's even more so now.
What about the Lakers? You got. I mean, I know they had a little bit of a rough stretch here.
It's interesting. They're 3-7 in the last 10.
Okay.
Lost 3 in a row. Been on a
Yeah.
little bit of a slide here. Luke has come out and said, you know, me and LeBron are responsible for getting us back where we want to be. I feel like this is just a team who kind of saw where they were in the landscape and said that whether we keep winning or losing, we're probably stuck in this 3-4-5 window no matter what. Like it's probably going to switch, you know, every other day from here on out.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say that they're disinterested, but in their minds, it's like we just need to get to where we need to get and see what happens.
The next 10.
Yeah. Right. Get to the next 10. Don't fall into the play-in. I don't think. I guess technically they still could, but it'd be difficult.
Yeah, it would be difficult.
And then get in there healthy and find their way through it. Because again, when they play good, they play really good. And I know you said you like the Grizzlies, but LeBron and Luka in the playoffs, both those guys know how to win series.
That's true. And, you know, I think I like them, you know, like to me, like a Denver matchup would be interesting with them.
A little slower pace.
Yeah, a little slower pace.
A little more half-court offense, kind of grind it versus getting their asses run up and down the floor.
Yeah. And kind of who's really guarding, you know, and Denver's sort of a thinner team, just like LA. It kind of isn't, you know, super deep.
You can hide Luka a little bit more against Denver.
You can hide Luka. Yep, you can hide Luka a little bit more.
You're not hiding him.
Well, you know, I mean, he doesn't have to defend as hard.
Yeah. That's fair.
Because he's not really, you know, having to chase out in the perimeter too much with, you know, they don't have as much shooting. So
it's wild. Oklahoma City is just, again, flying under the radar here, all nice and quiet. Slowly off to the best record. Like, you still barely hear them getting talked about. When you do, it's because they're talking about Shea winning MVP, most likely.
Yep. It's wild. Yeah, that feels like they're coming. I mean, that feels like the West is locked up as far as that goes. I don't see anybody else coming out of the West at this point.
No.
And then
take a freak accident or some sort of really lucky
lucky
drop.
Series. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Something crazy to happen, somebody that goes off, but
for sure.
Definitely. Well, I guess we could talk about one last team that I had here. Chicago leading to our next topic. What? Who? This could go for an hour here, maybe.
The team you wrote off. You were done.
Team I was done with them. Yes, I will admit. You know, I quickly tried to pivot away from Chicago, but I
have the
antenna. I have not put it to too much use, but I think as I was dusting off the hat, I was dusting off the antenna. We're making sure it works.
You got Lakers tomorrow night. A little revenge game.
Sweet 16 starts tomorrow night, so I think there might be.
you need two. See, here's the best part of the antenna.
Oh yeah, it's you know,
it's its own channel, so you just got to bring over TV, slide it right next to it, and just there you go.
I'll keep an eye on it, but I'm definitely going to be locking in here for the next handful of games that they got. But I thought I put a little note here at the end just for fun to kind of transition to this topic, that the Bulls should try to shoot for that 9th or potentially 8th seed and get 2 cracks at it with the 8th, or at the very least, you know, you should be really looking for that home court game in your first round of the play-in series. And I think you got Miami. So yeah, give us your general thoughts on this run, and then maybe give us a little deep dive breakdown of what's been going on with the Bulls.
Selfishly, I did want them to go for the 8th seed because I thought the 2 cracks would be good. And I also think them against Atlanta, I like that matchup a ton.
Yeah.
Like they always seem the past like 4 years, they played them in the play-in. Gosh, it's been Miami, Atlanta, and Toronto. It's been that's wild.
And the Bulls.
But the Bulls have seemed to have Atlanta's number kind of as of late couple seasons. I'd like the way that shakes. But the Magic has started playing better, so they kind of we're probably stuck around 9-10. Super selfishly, I want the 9 seed because I want to go to the game.
Yes, I agree.
I want to be in house for a winner take all type thing. I think that would just be it'd be either really exciting or really depressing. But either way, I think it'd be kind of fun. General synopsis though. So I kind of like pose some questions, I guess.
Yes.
So we'll go first one. Kobe White, obviously on a tear here in March. First player to win back-to-back Player of the Weeks on the Bulls since Michael Jordan.
I thought that was going to be your stat to open the show.
I didn't know Chris was going to be here at the last minute. So I didn't think it through. I was waiting for the easy one. But here's his March stats for you: 29.8 points per game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, shooting 50%, exactly 50% from the floor, and 61% on 2-pointers. And he's taken twice as many 2-point shots as 3-point attempts. So the thought or kind of question posed was, is this position that Kobe always belonged in? He's not a point guard. He's a scoring guard. He's a shooting guard. He's filling the role that Zach was, whether rightfully or wrongfully, was assuming on this team. And now that he's gone, he's stepped into it, and it fits.
Yeah, and I think to that point, I think you're right. I think this is maybe more his natural position, and obviously with Giddey as more the playmaker, distributor, true point guard, letting Kobe cook. I am a little nervous, if I'll be honest, that this is March NBA basketball, and I think there's a lot of mirages at times, in this period where everybody's kind of waiting for the playoffs. But I also don't hate what's going on with the Bulls. I think there's at least we can kind of maybe start to say, I know we were, kind of going back a couple months now, we've been debating what they should be doing. It's very clear that they're not just going to blow it up as organizationally. And I do feel that kind of getting rid of the old guard in the most part with DeMar and Zach has opened up this younger group of players here in Baselis, Giddey, and Kobe to kind of flourish a little bit. See what they can do, spread their wings a little bit, sort of take the mantle, take the reins. And I think in that sense, this is pretty legit. I think there's a decent, fun core of guys. I don't know how good this core is. You know what I mean? I don't know if this is a no doubt playoff team, next season, let's say. But I do think it's maybe a little more interesting to me where I'm like, all right, now maybe they have the pieces, and maybe if they're able to do something for maybe a younger sort of star type player, or whether it's in the draft or through some sort of a move, without giving too much of these young guys away, I think this could be a decently fun team and a decently competitive team. They're showing it, at least, this last little run here.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say it's March NBA.
Yeah.
Teams are just trying to get to the playoffs. So since they got blown out by the Cavs on March 4th, okay, here's who they played. So just kind of think of this as we go. Beat the Magic.
Okay.
Beat the Heat. Beat the Pacers. Beat the Nets. Lost to the Rockets. Then beat the Jazz. Lost to the Suns. Beat the Kings, Lakers, Nuggets. All those teams are fully invested in what they're doing right now. Like, there's not one of those teams that is throwing the towel in yet.
Yeah,
waiting to get there. So like they're playing against, and I had the same kind of thought as we were I was kind of thinking about this, like, well, are they just winning games like our team's kind of against them? Yeah, the Nuggets didn't have Jokic. Lakers had their full set. Everybody else has been pretty much healthy as they could be. So they're playing good basketball. They're playing with a different identity than they had most of the season. There had been so much talk about them building pace and being a team that played fast, and Billy has kind of talked about that for like 2-3 seasons now, and they struggled to like do it in consistent stretches. It would come in like waves. Partially right, I think that's DeMar, right? Slowed that down. But over this like last stretch, they're number one, I think, in scoring. They're like top 5 in defense. Again, this is a small sample size, but they seem to be, while teams are necessarily trying to win, the Bulls seem to be more spry, and they're catching teams maybe on their heels, just they're trying to win, but they're also trying to get to the end of the season.
Or maybe aren't expecting a ton from the Bulls, and they're like, okay, we got to try tonight. And then
they're just running teams in there. I mean, they ran the Lakers into the ground. Like that game was close through halftime. Then third quarter, you could just see the exhaustion. Luka had 29 in the first half in that game. He ended with 34 total.
Okay, yeah, that's
29 at halftime.
Yeah,
and I was thinking, well, he's going for 70 tonight. Like, here it comes. He couldn't miss, right? He was just hitting everything, and then it was just he was out, right? He didn't have it.
He was a little out of breath, little winded out there.
A little winded out there.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Other ghost I want to talk about is Josh Giddey.
Yeah, I think this needs to be talked about.
So last 5 games, he's got one triple double, almost one quadruple double against the Jazz or against the Lakers. Sorry, he had 15 points, 17 assists, and 10 rebounds and 8 steals against the Lakers.
Yeah.
He was a plus 22 in that game.
That's a stat line.
That's a stat line.
That's a stat line.
But he's averaging, I think it's like right around 26 points in this stretch, just around 8.5, 9 rebounds, and this has got to be probably 11 or 12 assists. So he's averaging almost a triple double.
Yeah,
over these last 5 games. He's shooting the ball really, really well. 3 of 4 from the 3-point line in the last game. The quantity of threes has come down for him, but he's making them at a higher rate, which is really good. And some of the finishes he's making at the rim have just been kind of filthy. Which again leads us to, did the Bulls win this trade after we talked so much nonsense and so much crap about it that they couldn't get a single pick in it? And did we just lose sight of the fact that for like 2 seasons in Oklahoma City, he was pretty good?
Yeah.
And then he had a bad playoff series last year. They knew Shea was their guy.
Yeah, it didn't really fit.
And this was almost a steal. Was this a steal for the Bulls to get off of a good contract in Caruso, but one that wasn't going to get you anywhere you needed to go long term? And now you've got a 22-year-old true point guard who can rebound, can shoot, and is playing point guard and letting someone like Kobe thrive.
Steal, I won't go so far as that. I'll go just short of the 10 double steals like Giddey did. Fair. I think had they gotten a first round pick, I would 100% be with you. I'd be like, okay, they stole it. Because initially it would have been, all right, they got the first round pick and they got a guy that OKC really didn't want. And all right, what could he really be? But I think now, instead of maybe kind of clowning the pick, I'm a little bit more like, okay, I see the vision now. You didn't get the first round pick, which like you always talk about as being sort of the gamble, right? Where like I maybe get a little bit more diamonds in the eyes of what could be and potential. I think sometimes a known commodity, which I think Giddey was, like he was a legit NBA player. You know what I mean? Whether or not he was going to fit with OKC and their timeline and their thought process, and they felt like Caruso was a better piece, like you said, because Shea was their guy and all this. Okay, but that doesn't mean he wasn't a good NBA player, a good prospect still at 22 years old. So I think maybe that's what personally I know I lost sight of in the trade, just kind of being frustrated with the Bulls organization. And then now it's kind of showing out that, yeah, okay, maybe they have first round pick, but maybe it's a Pat Williams type. And we're like, ugh, who cares? Giddey's at least something you can build around or, do something with.
Yeah. And maybe it's reframing and saying it's not that they won this trade, but it's that it wasn't as bad as we all thought it was.
Because I think it was pretty panned by everybody.
And maybe, it just worked out for both teams. The Bulls didn't need a lockdown defender when they couldn't score points.
Role player,
and the Thunder didn't need a true point guard when they had Shea, who runs the majority of their offense. I mean, are you okay if the Bulls throw him a bunch of money? I mean, he's a 22-year-old guy who's putting up, he's got triple-double potential anytime he steps on the floor. And everybody else that you have on your team is, remember this, everybody else is locked up. Like this is your off season.
Yeah.
Right? You're either giving Giddy a lot of money or you're going to go out and try and start over at the point guard. Or hope Lonzo is healthy for $10 million.
Yeah. This is where maybe I might clash like with some of the Bulls fans that are loving this a little bit. And I really would hold judgment until we saw the playoff run, right? I'm going to see, because we're going to get a play-in game. I think the goal should be to make the playoffs, be a 7th or an 8th seed for this team. I don't think it's unreasonable given the teams that are in the play-in. I think outside of Orlando, they're the second best team in that 4. So I would see how it looks against one of the best teams in the, whether they play Cavs or the Celtics, you're going to go up against one of the best teams in the East. I see how it looks and I make my decision. But I think like right now, I might be looking to sell high. I mean, he's a restricted free agent, so I don't know what you could do.
Yeah, I think the best decision is going to be let him go and see what the market is offering.
Yeah, let the market set it.
My only fear in that is that it's going to be a like a Zach LaVine 2.0.
Yeah,
because this is what happened, right? Zach came in, played on a pretty mediocre, for him, bad contract.
Yeah.
Overplayed it. Restricted free agent, went out to the market, got so-so offers from the Kings. Bulls match it, and then the next contract was the max. So, maybe we're staring down a similar barrel, right? Young player goes out to market, gets kind of mid offers. Bulls say, yeah, we can match that. He stays in house, he outplays it, which is probably a good problem to have, right? Salary cap is going to keep going up. You're not tied in. Max money will get better. And he's never going to be eligible for like the same kind of max Zach was, right? Because the All-Star appearances helped in that window. But I think you kind of have to pay him.
Well, I'm with you. I'm okay with a match. But I don't think I go and I offer something, or I don't think
you don't set his value.
Yep, I don't set his value. I would go, hey Giddy, we appreciate everything you've done this season. Go ahead, get your sheet, and we'll see what we can do. And if it's insane, I think I go, okay. I mean, like letting them go for nothing would be tough, but
yeah. The other thing too in this is, they didn't trade Lonzo, signed him on a really good contract. So
yeah,
I think this is the offseason that Lonzo needs to go, because if you sign Giddy, you say Lonzo, hey, thanks for everything.
Yeah.
You're on a great contract. Whoever wants him, you can have him.
For you. Yeah.
The other piece I want to talk about, and you probably not from having not watched many games, but everybody panned the Bulls pretty damn hard for what they got back in the LaVine deal.
Yeah. They've been playing all right, haven't
they? They kind of actually work. Another reason why Lonzo can go, right? Trey Jones is actually pretty good.
That's what I was hearing.
Super high basketball IQ. Another like actual point guard. Good handles. Going to get you like 11 points. Very low turnovers. Kind of reminded me like, this is super high praise, but like Rondo-esque almost.
Okay, yeah.
Like sees the court really well. Like if you need him to score, he probably could, but not like, it's not flashy. It's just like, hey, I'm here. I'm going to do my thing, and I'm not going to wow you, but I'm pretty damn solid. Kind of laughed at Kevin Huerter as well.
Yeah.
Didn't realize how much the Bulls needed someone who could space the floor as just a shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Like they didn't have that at all.
Yeah.
Kind of lost sight of that. Like,
yeah.
I think me was just so locked in on everything that Zach could do and would do, was like, well, he's their shooter.
Yeah.
Right. But he was also their driver and everything
ball
else.
Handler,
so it was like he was the ball. He was literally, when you needed something, it was like, well, let's just lock him up and we'll be good to go and hope Kobe doesn't do it. Now it's like, well, if Kobe's going downhill and we pack the paint, we can kick it out to Huerter, who's a really good shooter. Or if Kobe decides to shoot, Huerter is pretty tall and is making cuts. So like, and Zach Collins played well too. Chris probably knew of him. I didn't know jack shit about him, but when Vooch and Josh Smith were out, or Jalen Smith, sorry, he was good. He was like actually legitimately good. Like he looks like a well-polished 7-foot tall basketball player.
They got 8 or 9 really good guys now.
they do. There are a lot of jokes on the radio about they're building around that 8 or 9 really good guys.
Nice.
The interesting part is like you're starting to see this. You're starting to maybe see like the AK,
vision.
You're seeing the AK model, right?
Yeah.
And like you've got Giddey as the head of the snake, the actual true point guard, Kobe, who is if he can keep this up, right? And we've seen this flash from him before, right? We've seen, very basic and then like a skyrocketing month for him.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of comes back down to earth. So if he doesn't have that happen, maybe we're turning the corner here. We even talk about Buzelis.
Yeah.
Right? Scores 31 against the Lakers. I mean, he's a 19, 20-year-old rookie. Like that's what they're supposed to do. But like when he's on, it looks really good. Like that dunk he had over Luka when he crossed him over and then went behind the back. And I mean, like that's an impressive. Yes, Luka's a traffic cone, but like still,
I mean,
you can see the flashes and the confidence of somebody at that age in that spot to be like, I'm in LA on the road, one-on-one with Luka, and I'm gonna put this on it.
I'm gonna yam on him. Like he's got that nasty in him, and that's what I like about Buzelis. He's got that nasty in him, and that's what I'd love to see. That's the kind of player that gets me excited. I think maybe where I'm at as far as like moving on for people, I think Kobe would be the guy that I would be very willing to sell high on him, which I know might. This is something that I feel like, as a Bulls fan, always makes you nervous because you're like, are we selling high on a guy or are we selling too early before he really pops like a Jimmy?
Right? Or does he pop enough that he's worthwhile to keep around? Like,
yeah. My fear is that the Bulls always do this where the guy pops enough that you go, we can't let him go, but you have to realize that he's okay, but he's not actually a true number one, because I don't think Kobe's ever going to be a true number like one. I think he's a great scorer. I would see him as like a complimentary piece still, I think. He's the more of the guy that I'm like, it's March. Don't get too crazy about it. Where like Giddey, because of his age, and Buzelis because of his age, I do see those as like, okay, maybe building blocks. Kobe's the guy I'm like, hey, maybe if something comes around, something really good, and we can get a few more pieces or some picks, some future stuff that we can maybe add to this truly younger core.
Yeah. I think the real problem in that method is the timelines are all wrong for those players.
I think you're right.
So if you let Kobe go and you're signing Giddey to the long-term deal, then you're left with almost like the team you were before.
Yeah.
Where you now have to bring in some sort of scoring option.
Yeah.
So like, and then by the time that Giddey comes around for his next deal, and you're gonna be like, well, he played really well. He outplayed his contract. So what do we do? You're probably gonna sign him again, and then you're gonna do the DeMar trade. Like you're just gonna be stuck in this perpetual cycle.
Yeah. And
where yes, Kobe's high, but like is Kobe, like you said, he's not a true number one. So like,
is he an all-star? Like next year, could he be an all-star?
Yeah.
You think so?
I said Io could maybe be like the Tyrese Maxey. Like I think we're seeing like the Tyrese Maxey arc for Kobe right now.
Yeah.
Like it happened last year, right? He wasn't enough to get over, and the Bulls weren't good enough for him to get the recognition.
Yeah.
But like now that he's playing downhill in the way that he's refined the game to not just be this 3-point shooter, he could have like a 1 or 2 season arc and peak in the All-Star. Like I know you haven't watched, but you need to watch.
Yeah, I think you're right. I love him out of North Carolina, so I believe
his game is so different. Like it is vastly different from what it was 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Like it's confident, it's at the rim. Like the amount of layups and shots that he's taking at the rim is out of this world.
I think
it'll blow your mind. Like you won't recognize the team the way that they're playing.
And I think that's why I do want to like lock back in. I think they are a fun team and a team that would be fun to watch. I think he's the guy that makes me the most nervous of the trap of we're falling in love with a guy that maybe a ceiling is 2 all-star appearances. And that I don't like as a major building block. I don't love it.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay,
Like
but
it's okay to have a guy on your team that can give you 25 points a game.
yeah, and
I mean, right?
yeah, it's okay. I think we're
But like,
both kind of nervous for the same outcome, but just in different ways, right? You're nervous you get rid of him, that we end up in the same path. I'm nervous that we sign him, we end up in the same thing where he's Zach LaVine 2.0, and he's a great scorer, you know, but
yeah,
ultimately there's a ceiling, and then in in 3-4 years we're looking at, now we're mad about 6 seeds, 7
yeah.
seeds.
But you can't,
Yeah.
you can't just live in the world of every time a player gets good that it's going to turn into Zach LaVine 2.0. And I mean, honestly,
Yeah. No.
turning into Zach LaVine 2.0 would be perfectly fine. It's just the rest of the team cannot be, this era of Chicago Bulls 2.0.
Yeah.
Right? Zach LaVine wasn't the problem with why these teams never achieved what they were supposed to. He wasn't the number one problem. The problem was the roster construction around it was never right.
Yeah.
He was
And I
part of
think
the problem. I'm not saying like he wasn't part of the problem, but like they just never built it right. So
no,
you
and I
can't
agree.
you can't just always run the good best player you get out of town and then go and draft them and just like
I get yeah, and
not
I guess
every team is going to trade you Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, right? Like
no.
you don't have he's not a Paul George asset where they can go and sell him to somebody
For a
for
really valuable
something.
pick or
Right.
prospect, yeah. No, and I'm with you there. I think my hesitancy just comes in, like, the number one guy on your team, like, in my opinion, and this is maybe different philosophies too between us that we've always kind of butt heads with the Bulls, about, but I love it about it. I love having the discussions. I think that number one guy should be a no doubt guy. And if he's not a no doubt top 5, top 10 player in the league, I'm comfortable moving on from that and continuing to build and keeping those sort of pieces in place, like the Kevin Werther's or Herters of the group. Though, like, that's a piece. He's not he's a role player. That's fine. Your Alex Caruso's role players, but I think the number one guy, to me, the mindset should always be, if we don't have a no doubt number one, if we don't have a Luka, Giannis, Jokic, Shea, I'm comfortable moving on and selling high when I can.
I don't disagree. I just
Yeah.
don't think Kobe's getting you the number one guy.
Yeah, and maybe not.
He's not valuable enough to trade for the number one guy, unfortunately.
What do you think? All right, let's see. What would let's say he's an all-star level player next year.
Mm-hmm.
What would you think for like a trade value? Like 2 firsts?
No.
No? Okay.
No. I mean, let's be honest. If LaVine wasn't getting 2 first picks, Kobe's not getting 2 first round picks.
Yeah. And I think maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking of maybe they could get somebody to bite on like a at least, if it wasn't 2 firsts, I wouldn't be moving off him.
I don't think anybody's given 2 first round picks for Kobe White.
Kobe White.
I mean, unless he somehow manages to continue through the playoffs and then starts next season putting up 30 points a game. But I'd be wary to say that that's happening.
Yeah. Okay.
He seems like one of those guys who's going to, I mean, he could stay in the city and stay in that, like you're not going to have to keep paying him increasingly exorbitant amounts of money, right? He's not just going to keep jumping contract tiers as you go. Like eventually you're going to reach the ceiling with him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be what he's going to be. I think he's like a De'Aaron Fox kind of guy, like, like in that kind of like realm of like, I could score a lot, I could do my thing, but like, I'm not going to get you to the promised land, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But if you give me the right pieces around me and everything kind of flows right, like I could be a really good piece to making it happen for you.
Okay.
And he's not De'Aaron Fox, but you know what I'm saying? Like he's that.
But that tier of players where you maybe see if he was to reach his absolute pinnacle of what he could be, his potential, that's the type of level. A De'Aaron Fox,
like
maybe
the Kings would have loved to have kept De'Aaron Fox, but he just was like, yeah, I want out. Like this isn't working for me anymore. Like,
okay.
So I don't know. I think you got to watch some games. They're different. It's weird to say they're different. Patrick Williams coming off the bench.
Okay. That's good. It's a good sign.
Yeah, finally. He looks like a scared cat still when he comes off the bench, but that's fine. Put him there, stash him there, move him if you can, do whatever.
No, they're definitely a fun team, and if you're not watching the Bulls, a la me, you should be watching the Bulls.
You should be watching the Bulls. Hey, Neil Funk's calling the game on Saturday.
Oh, all right. We're gonna have to tune in Saturday for the old Funk Fest, and
Neil Funk and Stacy back in action.
Back in action. Definitely gonna be locking in because, like we said, tickets in the future here. If we can keep this a 9 seed, I'm in.
So
I'm going. I'm gonna go watch a game. I think it'd be fun.
Big fantastic.
It's a Tuesday or Wednesday night. I'm thinking, right? 15th to 18th is the play-in tournament.
Is that what they've already announced it?
I looked it up. So
okay.
I was like, I want to see the potential dates. So 15th is a Tuesday, and 16th is Wednesday. I would imagine it's one of the first 2 nights. So.
Yep. All
right. Well, it's fun. Watch the Bulls, like we said. Watch us on YouTube, TikTok. We're everywhere now. The shorts will be dropping soon. But other than that, that is it for us tonight. Follow us at social media at the Box Out Boys. Slide in those DMs. Tell us what you think of the Bulls. What you think of playoff seeding. Who's going where? Next week, I'm sure we'll be bringing up some more locked-in stuff here. Locked-in positions. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and review on YouTube and Spotify. We very much appreciate that. So for the guys, until next time, Box out!